Okay, hello, my name is Contessa Bostic, and these are my co-facilitators, Jessica Pillater and Xavier Mitchell. We will be presenting our project on identity development for adolescents and development in education. So a brief overview of our presentation, we referenced two different articles, Umana Taylor, Ethnic and Racial Identity During Adolescence into Young Adulthood, and Von Rowe, the role of school and adolescence in identity development. We will basically be synthesizing and comparing both articles and then concluding with a discussion question. So what is identity development? Identity development is the process of building and or forming an identity. This is the way adolescents identify themselves, whether it be racially, culturally, ethnically, and even sometimes by certain characteristics. One thing that I noticed in both articles, they agreed that identity development or social transitioning is a multidimensional phenomena rather than a single entity by itself. So it's a large topic with many subtopics. All right, in Umana Taylor's article, I realized there were a few main things. So one of the things was ERI, which is ethnic and racial identity. This was also one of the ways that adolescents may identify themselves, whether it be ethnically through culture and tradition or racially just based on their race. And then another thing I actually talked about was when we know that the process of identity development is happening or occurring in adolescence. And this is when there's an increase in social cognitive maturity and the ability to understand others. So adolescents begin to think more about their peers' thoughts and are more considerate towards others' thoughts about things because at this time they're thinking of them. Three other things that I noticed that also really stood out was social, psychological, psychosocial, and sociological factors in adolescents while they were transitioning through identity development.
Sorry about that, I was still muted. We're gonna go with sociological factors. With the sociological factors, I'm going to mention just a few of them, just about 6 that we see on our screen. One is that concerning the development, structure, and functioning of human society. The other one to the right of it is the important factor to adolescent identity development. Down below in the blue, we're going to go with maturity comes with responsibility. In the purple, who am I? What is my purpose? In the orange, when I do become an adult. And to the right of it, for a person my age, what accomplishments should I be achieving? All right, the definition of the social psychological factor is just the study of your mind and behavior with other people. An important factor is to the adolescents identify development. We're going to go with peers, peer pressure, internal thoughts, and attitude and belief. And these are like the day-to-day events and people that our adolescents are dealing with, but they must, I would say they like to have that certain belief or attitude towards it, by meaning the thoughts within internal thoughts, sorry. So, that's kind of what others think of them and what they want to perceive as others in the eyes of their peers. A psychological factor. We're only going to mention 4 of these. One is the social factor and the individual thought and behavior. Another one is critical to the identity formation. The third is an understanding of the common fate or shared destiny based on ethnic or racial group membership. And your last one is factors adolescents cannot control.
So in our Verhoeven articles about schools and their impact on identity, there were 2 things that the articles talked about, and that was unintentional impact and intentional impact. The unintentional impact is that the schools have through communication with the students about who they should or shouldn't be or who they could and couldn't be. They do this through implication. And so this usually deters the students to believe that they're supposed to be one way than the other. And this can have a negative impact on the students and their identity because they feel that they are supposed to be conforming to a certain standard or a certain way due to what the school is saying, what the curriculum is centered towards. Whereas schools that have an intentional impact usually harness explorative learning experiences for students that help them find their own identity within that curriculum. The article encourages schools and educators to create new ideas, activities, and possibilities through explorative learning experiences. Teachers can achieve all of this with a pedagogical, I can't say that word, approach that helps students make personal connections in relation to their identity. And so this is something that teachers should be doing with their curriculum on the forefront. It doesn't have to add extra work into their everyday materials. The curriculum should be based around helping students kind of form their own identity without having any kind of sway in the argument based upon set social standards that may or may not be true to their who they truly are. Focusing more on explorative learning experiences, they are there to create meaningful learning experiences and creating a supportive classroom climate. And this really has to do with the teacher. And so 3 of the categories within explorative learning experiences are in-breath exploration, in-depth exploration, and reflective exploration. So in-breath is unfamiliar learning contents, learning activities, and identity positions that can help students, develop their identity through on-site and hands-on activities. And so this is how you can incorporate it into your curriculum and have like hands-on with your students in order for them to help develop their identity. In-depth encourages students to try out roles and activities that are similar to their prior knowledge. So taking something that they may already be familiar with or already know, but relating it to, helping them find their identity is how in-depth exploration would work. And then lastly, reflective exploration helps students to reflect on their self-understandings to relate to classroom topics and assignments. So taking the individual cultures and identities of your students and incorporating that in the classroom with the curriculum can be super helpful for this and create that environment that is positive for students in finding their identities. And so the article really just talks about how, that shift, and it talks about tons of resources and other articles and other reviews that support the literature of creating a classroom that helps students. When comparing these articles, Article 1 expressed ethnic and racial identity as something that develops over time, combining or coordinating different elements and aspects of an adolescent's life. The central idea of the article was how complex identity development can be for an adolescent with so many factors involved. Whereas Article 2 expresses the effects of institutionalized learning and educators on adolescents as they form ideas of who they are and whom they want to become. The main focus was to assist educators on how to create a supportive classroom environment and climate in order to foster adolescents' identity and development. And then in conclusion, both articles are in agreement that identity development is a multidimensional phenomenon rather than a single entity by itself. Identity development consists of various periods, moments, and environments in a child's life. They all have different effects, but help scientists project how an adolescent life may turn out. And then again, focusing on psychosocial, which are that social factors and individual thought and behaviors, social psychological factors, which is the study of your mind and behavior with other people, and then sociological factors, which are concerning the development, structure, and functioning of human society. And so it's really important for, as us, educators or future educators, to be aware of those factors in order to help develop our classroom and our curriculum to be very supportive of students who are developing their identity through adolescence as they're, coming to know who they are. And then here are our discussion questions. Our first one is, what ways can we as educators incorporate explorative learning experiences in the classroom to help students develop their own identities? And then 2, how can we as educators help create an environment that is inclusive during an adolescent's journey through ethnic and racial identity? We thank you so much for watching our video and our lecture, and we hope that you enjoyed it.